Hey, what's going on guys? Broken Machine here. Today we're going to have a look at some of the settings and the new ones in Battlefield 1 and give you guys some advice on what you might want to use, the pros and cons of some of the new stuff, and what I use. So the first thing you may have noticed in the Battlefield Open Beta is that you can't use L1 and R1, but there is a little quick fix. What you need to do is you need to go to Settings, you need to go to Accessibility and go to Button Assignments. Click on the Enable Custom Button Assignments and then go to Customize Button Assignments. And what you want to do here is simply switch L1 to L2 and R1 to R2. That's all you need to do. And then once you've done that, you click on Confirm. And now instead of having L2 and R2 to aim down sight and shoot, you can use L1 and R1. So, perfect. Just how I like it. Now, let's have a look at some of the new settings. No, I don't want to click on that. The menu is a little buggy right now. Hang on, let's just look at this field of view first. So field of view, this is a new setting. Basically, it's the field of view on your screen. So default is 70. It's quite zoomed in. Not like other games like Call of Duty. You still see left and right pretty nice. But when you switch to something a little higher, so something like 90, I wouldn't go any higher than that if I was you. I'll tell you why in a second. So you can see much further to the left, much further to the right. It looks nice, it's very smooth, it's very clean. But the thing is, the higher you go, the smaller the targets become. So that can actually make it more difficult to shoot at longer ranges. Yeah, visibility as well. Sometimes you'll find it a little bit harder to see some targets, or you might just miss them because they're so tiny on the screen. So you gotta make that decision. Do you want that extra wide view, or do you want bigger targets? That's the question. So I wouldn't go higher than 90 on the horizontal side. And I've stuck with default. I'm probably gonna have it about 80, I think. Yeah, I'll probably leave it at 80 horizontal. Now the vehicle, that's pretty straightforward. I would have that on 90, maybe a little higher. That just helps when you're in third person on the vehicles. Now aim down sight, field of view, that's personal preference. To be honest, you know, if you want that or not, that's up to you. Doesn't make too much of a difference, so that's up to you. Weapon depth of field, I like that on. I think it looks a lot nicer, so I would personally recommend that. Audio, leave it on hi-fi or try war tapes. Those are two good settings. Output, leave it on stereo. VoIP, turn that off if you don't want to hear people. But if you want to teamwork with randomers, that's a good thing to have. Game announcer voice, I would put that off. Personally, I don't really like it. But that's your decision. Now gameplay. Most of these are pretty straightforward. Crosshair color, I would have something like green. So it's super bright, that's quite good. Red is a good one if you like to see it, but not too distracting. But I've gone with orange, which is similar to my new YouTube design. Kill log, all this stuff, that's personal preference. It doesn't really affect the game too much. Now hit indicator, I've got this set up here so that I've got blue as a hit, red as a headshot, and green as a kill. So what that means is if I get a red, I know that the enemy is heavily damaged, so I just need to get like a body shot off and I'll probably get the kill. And green just makes it so that I've got a visual notifier to move on to the next target or turn around and be on my way. Personally, I would really recommend having something similar to that. You don't have to have blue, red and green, it's up to you, but that's my thinking with that. The rest of these are personal preference, it's up to you with all that stuff. Now advanced, I would have weapon zoom on hold, I much prefer it. Steady scope on hold. I have soldier auto leaning off because it gets really irritating, especially around close quarter situations, but it can be quite beneficial, so you gotta weigh up the pros and cons of that, and that's your decision. Auto peek, that's fine, that's just when you're sitting behind a box and you want to peek over, that's fine. Aim assist auto rotation, I have that off, and I have slowdown on. And the rest of these is up to you. Network performance graph, turn that on if you're having issues, connection issues, and record the clips and send them into DICE, and hopefully that'll help them fix the game. Now controls, most of these are personal preference, but I would recommend turning vibration off because that affects your aim. All these, again, your decision. I use 100 sensitivity, but I would not recommend using that if you're not very good at this game. Just use something that works for you. Don't follow other people, just find something that works for you. If it works, do it. A lot of people just use 100 to try and look cool and stuff like that. It's a bit hard, I don't really understand it. But I've been using that since like BF3, and it works for me. 'Cause, I come from Call of Duty, so I was used to high sensitivities. Vehicles, I have that quite low on 50. I wouldn't recommend going too high on that. I don't think you need it, so that's what I prefer. Soldier zoom, leave that on default, it's at 100. Now uniform soldier aiming on, what that means is when you're using a scope, it'll feel the same in terms of sensitivity to the iron sights. So if you move the stick a certain amount to 90 degrees, it'll feel exactly the same with a scope on. Definitely recommend that. Control schemes, that's just up to you. I'm not going to go through them. Advanced, leave these all on default. Just leave them. And that is pretty much it. Definitely have a play with the FOV. You might find that the high is nice, but you do lose, targets just become smaller at longer ranges, so you got to be careful. I'm not sure what this guy's doing. Have a med kit, so you got to play around with it, but if you have it too low, you get this super zoom effect, and it might make you feel a little dizzy in places. So those are my settings. I hope they help. I hope I've explained the new additions well, and that's it for today. Hope you guys are all doing well, and I'll see you soon. Take it easy. Catch you later.